everybody, it's Mike from The Art of Guitar. I'm back with another Brutally Honest concert review. This one was for Robert Plant and ALISON KRAUSS. It was at the Mystic Lake Amphitheater on June 7th, and it was a Friday night. I was real excited because my friend asked me if I wanted a free ticket. I keep getting offered these tickets, I love it, to see the show. And I was a little bit torn, actually, because the last time my friend and I went and saw a concert, it was Jeff Buckley way back in the day at First Avenue. And not too long after that concert, he actually ended up dying. And my Korean superstition kicked in, and I was kind of worried, like, hopefully nothing happens to Plant after this concert. But I accepted the ticket because, you have to see the legends while you still can. Now, I'm not super familiar with the music of Plant and Krauss, so on the way to the show, I don't know if you do this, I tried to play as many songs as possible, just so I was a little bit acclimated to their sound and maybe a couple songs would stand out. And I really started to enjoy what I was hearing, and 3 songs really stood out.
Please read the letter that I wrote.
The first one was Please Read the Letter That I Wrote, and I believe that's a Page and Plant song. And I also love the song The Price of Love. That really caught my ear.
That's the price of love.
And then just as I was pulling up to the casino, the song Can't Let Go came on. And I love Lucinda Williams' version of that, but the Plant and Krauss version was equally as good. There was a real cool vibe to it. I just love the sound of those two together.
Well, it's old, I know it, but I can't let go.
Like usual, I was a little bit late to the show, and I paid the price because there was no parking anywhere near the amphitheater. Mystic Lake's kind of weird because I'm used to seeing their indoor shows, and I actually prefer that. When I found out that this was outdoors, I was a little bit bummed out because with Minnesota weather, you never know what you're going to get. Even if it's just a little bit cloudy, in like 10 minutes, it can suddenly be raining, or there could be a tornado all of a sudden, or it could even start snowing, for God's sake. So I had to park in the regular lot, and it took about 20 minutes to walk all the way to the amphitheater. But I have to admit, it was 75 degrees and only partly cloudy, and it was pretty much the perfect day to see an outdoor show. So I get there, my friend hands me her phone because they weren't allowing us to, transfer the tickets through our mobile app. I don't know why. It must be some weird Ticketmaster thing. I got her phone, I got through the gate, and right away I noticed the huge lines for almost everything. The food trucks, it looked like you're going to wait a half hour to get anything to eat. The merch table was completely crazy, and the beverage line was a little bit shorter, so we went there first. When we got to the front, we realized that they were only selling canned beverages, like canned booze. I thought, man, I don't think there's canned Jack Daniels, is there? But I had to settle for canned white wine. And later on, you're going to find out why it's probably a good idea that they didn't have the hard stuff at this concert. The ticket said general admission. And since it was outdoors, I figured, you know what? How close we get to the front of the stage depends on how much discomfort we want to feel. Like, you got to fight your way up, everybody's kind of crowded together. It's all sweaty. It gets, just chaotic up in front. And I'm totally cool with that. That's like an old school concept. You got to earn your way up to the front. But back in the day when we went to Lollapalooza 94, I was actually way up in front for the Beastie Boys. And somebody was body surfing and they were wearing Doc Martens, and they kicked me right in the ear with the heel of their boot. It was not pleasant, but I kept thinking, that's the price you pay for being up front for the Beasties, But this concert was not laid out that way. What they did was they took the whole viewing area and they cut it in half. And the half that was closest to the stage actually had seats sitting on the grass. And then behind that was the general admission area all the way to the back. So as we wandered into the general admission area, it was completely packed. Most of it's my fault because I was so late. But it really made sense why so many people had lawn chairs under their arms as we all made the long pilgrimage to the amphitheater. And because they were sitting down and taking up more space, like I said, there was no room left to stand. So my friend and I basically had to walk around trying to find anywhere to stand, and we were having no luck in doing so. But then I had a bright idea, because if you watch my other videos, you know that I love to stand near the production area. It usually sounds the best right there. I say usually because at the Priest concert, it wasn't the case. When Priest came out, you can watch that review as well. But we got there and it was in the ticketed area, the seating area, and not really the general admission area. So we weren't really supposed to be there, but I thought, at least we can go and check out what the production area looks like, and we can kind of hang out, and we'll leave as soon as somebody gives us any grief. And so we were standing in front of this little fence that was in front of some of the equipment, and nobody cared. Like, we were just staying to ourselves, looking around, and even the event staff security was going by and nobody cared. They just let us stand there. And the first band comes out. It's J.D. McPherson, by the way, and they came out right at 8 o'clock. Concerts are very punctual these days, unlike the old days. Guns N' Roses. Well, the band starts up and they're really great sounding. They kind of have this Americana, bluegrass kind of country thing happening with really great guitar playing. And I looked at JD's guitar, and that thing is one of the most interesting looking guitars ever. It looks very heavy as well. But I was digging the sound. You know, they had a stand-up bass player. I kept joking that I was hoping they were going to kick into like a Brian Setzer or a Stray Cats song. That would have been really sweet. But then when the second song kicked in, this couple appeared out of nowhere. It was really strange. So it was me, my friend, and then the couple. And as soon as the band kicked into Lust for Life by Iggy Pop, they did a great version of it. All of a sudden, the girl that's next to us starts screaming and yelling and waving her arms. You know, that was her weird way of dancing, I guess. She was just causing a huge commotion. When she started making a racket, I stared daggers over to them. I mean, I probably could have melted metal with that death stare I was giving them, but they didn't even notice. You know, they're just hanging out, having fun. I knew we were doomed, and I told my friend, I'm like, I give it 2 minutes before we're kicked out. I mean, it felt like we were in Red Dawn or something. We were hiding from the Soviets in the mountains, and we were wearing camouflage, but this guy's girlfriend's wearing like a hot pink spandex outfit and twerking. So just like I predicted, all of a sudden the guy with the green event shirt comes over and he's like, hey, you guys gotta move. And the girl's like, I am moving. So they get booted out, and I decided to just try to stay as calm and still as possible. You know, like a little kid, if I don't move, maybe they don't see me. And, you know, up until then we had good luck, so I didn't know. Of course, it didn't last. The guy comes over and I just didn't put up any fight. I was just like, yeah, and I walked off. But my blood was boiling because we had the perfect situation and they had to ruin it. So as we're walking to the side of the tent, I went up to the guy, and then this is where I said I'm glad they weren't serving whiskey, because I was feeling pretty hostile at this point. I went right up to him and I'm like, dude, next time you get a lucky spot like that, you just got to shut the hell up. And I was ready for anything. You know, I was expecting him to either laugh or throw a punch. And this guy was so wasted that he just kind of giggled and he just walked off. Now we had no choice. We had to find somewhere to watch the show. So we were just wandering around. I could hear the band just killing it up there. They did 7 solid songs. And very professional, you know, it was very scheduled, like I said, and they got off the stage and the crowd seemed to really enjoy them. We still had no luck finding a spot, so we went all the way to the back, and there's a group of people that all look kind of lost, you know, and we went so far back, we were actually on the border of the golf course that's right behind that area. I was like, man, if I go back any further, we're going to owe green fees to this golfing club. By now you could feel the excitement level of the crowd rising. You know, people were just like, I can't believe Plant's going to come out pretty soon. I was excited. My friend was ecstatic because she had never seen him live before, and she's been a huge Zeppelin fan ever since I've known her. So we decided, you know what, let's go get another drink and use the biffies or whatever and just get ready for this next set. So we walk over, and it's kind of cool because the beverage lines were actually pretty close to the stage area. I thought this might be a really great hack. We'll just stand here and get drinks all night. And unlike some outdoor venues where they don't have enough biffies for people, Mystic Lake did it right. They had more than enough, and it was in a big U shape, so the line went really fast. And it's funny because there are so many all crowded together that you could just hear constant clanging of the plastic doors shutting. It was like musical biffies. They're kind of fancy too. Mine had a drink holder in it. After I came out and had a few more sips of my canned wine, I started to settle down a little bit. You know, I started to really take in the beauty of everything. Everyone just seemed so happy. I think a big part of the happiness is that as Minnesotans, we're just happy to be at an outdoor concert where there's not crazy weather going on. So it's one of those rare perfect nights for an outdoor show, like I said, and everybody just seemed very grateful to be there. Before we knew it, the band comes out, and all of a sudden, there he is standing right there in the flesh. Robert Plant. Very cool to see that. They kicked into Rich Woman, which I did not know that song. It was not one of the songs that played, you know, when I was driving to the show. And it wasn't until they played Can't Let Go that I finally recognized a song. There's something about knowing what the band's playing that really makes you feel connected. You know, if a band plays a set and you've never heard any of their music, it's really hard to get into the show. So it was really cool when I started recognizing songs. One thing I noticed about them as a duo is that they balance each other out really well. You would think that a guy like Robert Plant, you know, a legendary singer, would just take all the attention, all the spotlight. But when he sings, she accompanies him perfectly with harmonizing, and she plays her, you know, violin quite a bit. And then when she sings, he balances her out. You know, he sings back up, and he even does percussion. You know, a few times in the show, he's like doing the maracas, and I swear one time he had 8 of them in his hands. It was wild. Then when the sun finally went down, the stage took on a whole new look. It was a beautiful setup, awesome production. The lighting was incredible looking all of a sudden, and the back curtain looked a lot like what Ann Wilson had at her solo shows. It's kind of like this high-class backdrop that reflects the lights in a really cool way. And another thing that was great is suddenly we could see the screens. The sun wasn't, washing them out. So you could see everything clearly finally from even far away. I got really excited when they kicked into In the Mood because I love that song. Growing up, I remember hearing it all the time, Robert Plant's solo project. And I got excited because it was part of a 3-song melody. And all of a sudden they were playing Gallows Pole. Just like, I'm in heaven right now. My friend was freaking out. She's hearing Robert Plant singing a Zeppelin song live. By the way, the band did play a version of Rock and Roll. But it was so different from the original, it was hard for me to get into. But with this setup, when they played Gallows Pole, it was perfect. They're just made for that kind of song. That's why I was so excited when later on they played 2 more Zeppelin songs. They played Battle for Evermore. And this is one of those tunes that was so cool to have ALISON KRAUSS on stage because she did all the really cool violin stuff. And then she sang backup and she nailed it.
And time will tell us all. Oh, throw down your plowing hoe. Rest not among your hoes. Side by side.
By the way, at this time, my friend and I are just wandering around because that's the only way to not get harassed by the event staff is just to keep moving. That was the secret. So we were able to see the show pretty well, if we just kept walking around, but we finally settled back at the production area. But here's the secret. We didn't go to the front because we already got busted before. I didn't want to get kicked out or something. So we moved towards the back a little bit off to the side. And it was perfect because we weren't standing in front of anybody and we could still see the stage really well. It still sounded really good where we were. It was kind of like we found the perfect spot once again. But I kept one eye open for that damn couple. And I thought, man, if they show up again and they ruin this for us again, the only way I'm coming home tonight is on bail. I really have to give props to the production team because the sound was so full and just huge sounding. And like I mentioned, we were wandering around quite a bit and everywhere we went, it sounded good. That's really rare, especially for outdoor shows. One time I saw Rush at the State Fair and we were far back, but the wind was blowing the sound everywhere and it sounded like everything was being run through a phaser effect. And I got goosebumps when they kicked into When the Levee Breaks.
If it keeps on raining, levees go to break. If it keeps on raining, levees go to break.
I'm like, yes. And I was so relieved that they played a handful of Zeppelin tunes, a Robert Plant solo song, and that I actually knew a few of their actual songs together. It could have easily went the other way where they just played a bunch of obscure songs that I've never heard before, and I would have left with a whole different feeling. So I asked my friend if she wanted to leave a little bit early. They did kick into a couple of encores, but we were still able to hear it and see some of it as we were walking away. There was just so many people there. I was afraid we were going to be there all night if we waited till the very end to leave. But luckily, we were able to hit the merch table and there was no waiting because everybody was still at the concert. So I was able to get this t-shirt. She got a t-shirt and we made our way to the casino. It's always sort of a double-edged sword to go see a concert at a casino because you're so tempted to gamble afterwards. I would have to say overall, besides the weird general admission thing and that crazy couple that, ruined our perfect seating situation, I'd have to give this concert an 8.6. It was quite epic and it sounded and looked so incredible. It's really hard to give it anything lower than an 8.6. Personally, I would give it a higher score if, in addition to J.D. McPherson, they put another band in there that maybe was more familiar to me, maybe even like a local band. I mean, like the Jayhawks would have been really cool to see opening. All I know is that next time I see a concert at this amphitheater, I'm going to pony up the extra dough to actually buy a seat. No more wandering around the entire show. No more getting yelled at by the security the whole time. It's just not worth it. So let me know if you saw any of the shows on this tour so far. I love that Plant is cool with touring still, and it really gives me hope that someday there could be some sort of reuniting of parts of Zeppelin, or even just a Page and Plant tour would be excellent. But until that happens, I'll just keep hoping. Okay, everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you at the next video. Bye-bye.
Time to go sit down, guys. Whoa.